See, some people, no matter what you do, they're not going to like you. Even if you changed and did everything they wanted, they would still find some reason why you don't measure up. You have to be at peace with people not being at peace with you. You don't need their approval to fulfill your purpose. You don't have to have them before you to become who God's created you to be. But if you get distracted trying to win them over, spending your valuable time trying to convince them to be for you, then you will miss the fullness of your destiny. Don't take the bait. Don't let them get you riled up.
Stop telling your visions to other people because they're not going to see it. Why you think you keep imagining opening a business? Why you keep imagining graduating, getting a better job? Why do you keep imagining buying a house? Why do you keep imagining getting rich one day? Why do you keep imagining that? Because God is talking to you. He's showing you something that he has for you. If you take an oak tree seed and you put it in a 2-foot pot, that seed will never become the oak tree that oak trees are capable of becoming because it's going to get stifled by the 2-foot pot. Now check this out. Ain't nothing wrong with the seed. The seed just fell prey to the environment. Don't you allow your environment to dictate the oak tree that you become. Get away from these people that's in your life that ain't doing nothing. Get away from people in your life that's hating. Get away from your family members that ain't ever opened a business. Get away from your family members that ain't ever followed their dream. Get away from your family members that ain't never been nowhere but to the family reunion. Get away from them. Get away from them. I had to do it. When I told everybody I was getting into comedy, man, oh, Lord have mercy. You can't get into comedy. You ain't even funny. How you gonna make money telling jokes? And in the beginning, it looked like they was right, but I never gave up. When I first got on TV at NBC 7 years ago, they sent a linguist to see me. I didn't even know what that was. And I said, excuse me, ma'am, who are you? She says, I'm your grammar coach. I said, for what? She said, NBC is of the understanding in order for you to be successful on daytime TV, you're going to have to learn how to speak more eloquently. Oh, I said, I ain't finna do all that there. She said, excuse me? What did you just say? I said, I ain't finna do all that there. She said, that's exactly why I'm here. She said, if you don't learn how to speak more properly, you'll never be successful. I said, who told you that? You walked into my office. I'm already on TV. See, the reason I'm not going to let you change my mind is because I've never known you up until this point. Now, I've made it to this point without you. I don't know how you figure I ain't going to get the rest of the way without you. I said, which one of these sound best to you? I am broke or I'm is rich. Everything that's happening to you is God is processing. Every difficult moment you're having, He's just processing it. That's all He's doing. Everything you're going through is preparing you for what you ask God for. And if you need to be tough when you get to where you're going, then He gonna toughen you. If you got to be more caring along the way, He gonna let you have some trials come your way that's gonna have to produce that in you. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Your imagination is the evidence of things not seen. You know why they say it's not seen? Because your imagination, you are the only one who can see it. So you know what that means? All that stuff you've ever imagined, it's just been God showing you a preview of a coming attraction He has for you. The problem with your imagination is you tell it to the wrong people. No matter what's going on in your life, it's not permanent. Everything is going to change. So there's two things you can do with change. You can react to it or you can participate in it. It's going to change anyway. So if you keep waiting around, you're going to have to react to the change. And now you're behind. But if you participate in the change, if you know the job you have is not going to last forever. COVID proved that already. Where you go to work at every day, that's going to change. COVID proved that already. So what you got to start doing is you got to start anticipating that it's going to change and just start living your life with the preparation for change. You have to lose your fear of failure. Failure is a part of the process. People who never fail never try. Don't be afraid to reinvent yourself, and don't be afraid to be different, man. You ain't got to fit in the crowd. I tell my sons all the time, why are you following everybody when you were clearly meant to lead? It's always better to just do your thing. And I don't care what situation you done got your life in, you can turn your life around, because it ain't ever too late. See, I didn't get into comedy till I was 27. I was homeless from 30 to 33. I lived in a 1976 Tempo. I lived in a car for 3 years, man. And so people see me today, they don't know where I come from. And I tell young cats all the time, man, the key is you can't ever give up. This is yours. You're the captain. You're the master. You're the foreman. You're the general. You're the head. Don't give control of this to nobody.
When you're at rest, you know God's in control. You know all things are going to work for your good. You know what He started, He's going to finish.
My point is that the devil knows how to tell you and make you feel like you're never going to be happy again. You're never going to be loved again. That's the language that he lies with.
God is most glorified in us when we are most satisfied in Him.
Let me tell you something. Inconvenience doesn't stop God, and neither do your inabilities.
Here's the truth. When you have missteps in your life, God is far more interested in what you're becoming than He is in what you're trying to accomplish.
Consume yourself with happy things and people, and you will find yourself feeling like your mood and your energy is better.
First big problem is that you have put a lot of people above you.
Yeah.
Put no one above you. No one. I put God above me. Besides that, there's no one better than me.
If you have a story and you've had some experiences that can help other people, what you're sitting on can lift somebody up.
Here's the simple truth. If you're exhausted at the end of the day, stop trying to exercise at the end of the day. It's really that simple. So I like this theory of personal development.
There are a lot of things you don't need to know how they work. Just work them. Some people are always studying the roots. Others are picking the fruit. It all depends on what end of it you want in on. So asking is the beginning of receiving.
I'm going to give you 3 words, and if you'll remember these 3 words and practice them, you'll maximize every mentoring experience you have. The first word is preparation. The second word is reflection. And the third word is action.
You can be too tormented by your conscience, too rigid, too responsible, take on too much weight onto yourself, deny yourself in a manner that isn't sustainable.
Make your own steps, don't follow others. Every one of us is built different, so you need to make your own path.
I'm worried about my finances. I'm upset about the medical report. When is this pandemic going to be over? It's not a surprise to God. He hasn't brought you this far to leave you. Release the worry. Release the frustration. Release having to know all the details. There will always be situations that we don't understand, problems that look too big, obstacles that seem permanent. That's a test.
And he tells you never. He tells you never. He tells you never about certain opportunities, you know? Well, that's never going to happen. Nobody ever notices you anyway. Have you ever noticed how they never notice? This is how the devil talks. What's the point in trying? They never notice. They never say thank you. They never appreciate you. Never, never, never. And eventually you just agree with the devil to get him to shut up. Okay, it's fine.
Someone say, I can't lose. I can't lose even though I'm in these chains. Because he's either going to break them off of me or he's going to use them for his glory. And so, Lord, I get satisfied in your name. What does it matter what you say about me? What does it matter what you think about me? If you put me into chains, I know even through my chains, he will get glory. And with that, I can rejoice.
You know what? If you're going to do what God wants you to do, you probably won't be able to take your friends with you. Do you know how many people trade somebody that they want to keep a relationship with who doesn't care anything about them anyway for a relationship with God? It's pathetic. Leaving the crowd behind.
You care about the results, the goals in your life, but God cares about your character development. He's more interested in the person you are becoming while you're working on your goal than he is even the goal. Because of that, he's not going to remove all of the problems and all of the pressures and all of the difficulties that can teach you, even though he's given you the dream. He put that dream in your heart.
I want to remind y'all of the power of the mind. You can think yourself into a depression. You can think your way into stress. You can think your way into misery, frustration. There's so much more power in the mind than you probably like to give yourself credit for. So I want you to decide to think happy thoughts.
Whenever times got hard, my mind said, you're not good enough. Let's go. So my mind wasn't, my eyes, my mind weren't connecting. You have to remind yourself. We all have a story. All of us have gone through very hard times. But when we're in a hard time, our mind has a way of forgetting what all we've overcome. I have a way of taking 1 second when I want to quit and saying, okay, you endured this.
Stuff that you're setting on, stuff that you're holding back, stuff that you've gone through. We have 3 lives. We have a public life, we have a private life, and we have a secret life. And those secrets that you're setting on can lift somebody up. Somebody needs to know, how did you overcome that and didn't lose your mind?
If you're so exhausted after work, particularly if you're working from home, that you don't have the energy to exercise, you got 2 choices, people. Either you use the 5-second rule, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you push yourself up and you get up going and you go do it anyway, even though you don't feel like it, or you change the time of day that you exercise. That's it.
You've got to be better than a good worker. You've got to be a good asker. Let me give you some key points on this asking and receiving, setting goals, asking of life. Here's part of the philosophy that helped me to change. First, asking starts the receiving process. Asking is like pushing a button. And all this machinery starts working, mental and emotional machinery.
Preparation. All's well that begins well. Reflection. All's well that... ends well. What do I need to apply? And I put all the application stuff I need to apply that he taught me there. And what do I need to change in my life? What did he say that I said, oops, got to do a U-turn here. I was doing that wrong. Or maybe I hadn't even started. I mean, maybe I need to change from not going to going. And so I put all the C's, the change things together. And then, okay, what do I need to teach others? Okay, I put all the T things there.
You have to attend to your guilt and your self-disgust and your self-contempt and your self-consciousness. You have to understand that the manifestation of those emotions might well indicate a moral failing on your part or a lack that needs to be addressed, while at the same time considering that it is not a straightforward matter to deal fairly with yourself.
Will you go through life worried, wondering if it's going to work out, discouraged because it's taken so long? Or will you enter into rest? Will you believe that God is in control and that He will get you to where you're supposed to be? And sometimes we want something so badly it can get out of balance. We're not going to be happy unless God does it our way. Don't give up on the promise, but release control of how God is going to bring it to pass.
I think it's crazy. God will give people the word that they need for something they're about to go into, and they won't even write it down or listen to it. They don't know they're going to need it. Because God is giving you what you're going to need for where he knows you're going to be. And you're so like right here, right now in this season. If it doesn't say exactly what I want it to say right now, but you might need this.
I bring meaning, I bring purpose. I have a reason to keep going. I will continue to rejoice. That word continue, we see that same word show up in the word in the definition of perseverance. It's a continuing. It's a continuance. It's one thing to start rejoicing. It's another thing to continue rejoicing. Yes, and I will continue to rejoice.
Surround yourself. If you've got negativity at home, then go the extra mile to surround yourself with positivity during other times in your life. God will give you people to offset that if you need it. But I want to tell you something. Listen to me. If you want to be what God wants you to be, you are not going to be liked by everybody.
Every one of us have had major missteps as we've gone after a goal or a dream or a vision. I'm going to set you free right now. Do you want to know what God thinks about your missteps? All the missteps you've had in your life on the way to your goal? Do you want to know what God thinks about your missteps? He doesn't. He doesn't worry about your missteps. Listen, he's looking at your long-term growth.
I'm feeling the pressure, but I just wanted to take this moment to tell you how much power you have in your mind. We are all a work in progress. We are all a work in progress, trying to climb our way up the spiritual ladder. Do better, be better, trying our best to not put our hands and our legs on obvious landmines and making mistakes. No one's perfect.
I look at my life and how I came up as the ultimate training ground versus most people look at it as why? Woe is me. God, why?
Right, exactly.
Why?
Right.
I had to flip this upside down and say, hang on a second. God was training me to be one of the baddest men on the planet Earth.
Absolutely right.
This was my journey.
Let them know because of you, because of your voice, because of your story, they can get to the other side. That somebody can to use that to navigate and work through whatever struggle that they're going through now. The people you hang around with, the books that you read, the things that you expose yourself to, that's what you become.
Make it easier on yourself. Do it in the morning. Do it in the morning. If you're not a morning person and you never get it done in the morning, you got two choices. Either 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, push yourself to do it, or change the time that you do it. You know, one of the things that's interesting about having lived through the pandemic and how it turned everybody's lives upside down is that so many people never change their routines. When your life changes, you've got to re-examine your routines.
Receiving is not the problem. You don't have to work on receiving. It's automatic. So if receiving is not the problem, what is the problem? It's failing to ask. The man says, I see it now. I got up every day this year and hit it hard, but nowhere in my house is there a list of what I want from my life. Can you see? Good worker, poor asker.
That's all reflection. These are my application. This is the things I change. These are the things I teach. Now you see, I've got a personal growth program. I'm going to take maybe number 1A, number 1C, number 1T, and I'm going to practice that for a couple of weeks. And you see, there's no transformation. There's no change without action. So there you go.
A moral way of being can become too rigid and inflexible, and despite its putative aim upward, be something counterproductive. I think most of the way out of that, if there is one, is, well, careful thinking. You have to see what your conscience says. You have to see how you respond.
Anything you have to be happy, the enemy can use against you. But when you can say, God, this is what I want, but even if it doesn't work out my way, I'm still going to be happy. I'm still going to give you praise. That takes away the power of the enemy. Hold tightly to your dreams, but hold loosely to how God is going to do it.
The truth will set you free. I struggle a lot. That's how I get these little messages. I go down to hell, I box the devil 6 days, I come back and tell you here's something to try on him. But my fear was, I was like, I'm probably not gonna finish strong, man. I mean, good grief, I struggle with this and I deal with that. And you may not, but I actually think you will. And here's why I think you will, because you know you might not. Now, some people would call that being negative.
What does it even matter? That's when you've lived a while, you know? What does it even matter? What does it even matter what they're saying about me? What does it even matter that they think about me? But I am so brokenhearted as I look today on social media platforms, as I look at blog writers, as I believe you have to have good doctrine. I believe, of course, there's heretics out there. I believe there's people that have the wrong motivation. But I just want to say, when it comes to our house and our community, we're not critics.
I had to leave the crowd behind to be where I'm at. Some of you, the best favor you could do yourself is to get away from some of your friends, because they're dragging you down. They're negative. They're critical. They don't encourage you in the things that you believe God wants you to do. You say, well, I'm married to it. You know what? If you are, then pray and be so godly that that person will want to change.
You, Lord, watch over every step. This is a message on our steps. You, Lord, watch over every step I take, but you won't keep track of my missteps. Hello. You, Lord, watch over every step I take, but you won't keep track of my missteps. Are you kidding me? Do you realize what that says?
I just want to remind you of the power of the mind. You can create the outcome of your hour, your week, your month, and your year. You just have to decide in your mind what you want it to be. Some of y'all are struggling with depression and being sad and just being in this blue funk, and you can't shake it. I thank God every day that that's not me.
It's the perspective that 21-year-old had. He looked up at that mountain and thought, he looked at his hands, he looked at the amount of hours of pulling that Pulaski, that tool, and raking that ground, and then cutting those trees and moving them, and that hours of work. He looked at his feet and said, these old shoes would do. It's that perspective in life that we lose. And that story to most people may not mean anything. It's that story I always want to have in my life.
Always a roof over our head. Always clothes on our back. Thank you, Mama, for going to work hurting from arthritis. Your example has given me the strength to fight 4th-stage cancer all these years, in 29 years, and kick cancer's butt.
Always look at it through the lens of, what could I do that would actually make this easier for me? Me personally, I freaking hate exercise. Hate it. I do it because I have a commitment to be active and vibrant for my entire life. I do it because my body deserves to feel good. I do it because it helps with focus. I don't like it.
The man says, yes, but you work where I work. By the time you struggle home, it's late. You've got to get a bite to eat, watch a little TV, and get to bed. You can't sit up half the night and ask. And this guy is behind on his bills. He's a good worker, hard worker, sincere, but you've got to do better. then work hard and be sincere all of your life.
Preparation, all's well that begins well. You preparing before you meet the person that you're mentoring is going to make a huge difference in their lives. I remember the first time I had the opportunity to have a mentoring session with John Wooden, my question more than the other question was, will it be a good enough session that he will ask me to come back and do another session with him?
You have to capture that voice and your responses, and you have to think it through. But most of that is done in dialogue with other people rather than as the consequence of internal thought. You know, if you have a dispute with your wife or your husband, your intimate partner, sibling, your parents, anybody close to you, ask yourself and the other person very seriously if you're at fault or if they're at fault.
You have to be aware, man. Awareness. This point is vital in the process of assimilating what happens to us on a daily basis, and my mentor was the pain getting to a point where I felt I could no longer cope. I didn't know when the pain was going to stop. This led me to look for ways to elevate the pain. Through taking action, I started to meditate to calm my being. Through responsibility, I took charge of my decisions, and through awareness, I forgave myself and others. You should also transform your obstacles so you don't judge yourself in negative situations. Your judgment won't add anything and can't stop you in the next steps. What I want you to do is also to turn a bad situation into some learning. All events must somehow teach us to move to the next level. And you accept failure. Accepting failure is one of the paths to happiness. After all, failure and difficult situations will always exist. And the other thing that I want to talk about is that you should not depend on the outer things. So your happiness cannot depend on anyone or any situation. This point is super important so that you don't create expectations or get hurt by something that doesn't depend on you. To be truly happy, we need to accept that some things are actually going to happen whether you like it or not. So if you understand these things, I think these are the first step and the main key to achieve happiness. I mean, it takes sacrifices in order to achieve it, but it is the main key.